What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. Let's talk a little bit about the New Orleans Saints here. As, OTA's minicamp just wrapping up. Alvin Kamara, a notable absence from the last day of minicamp. Why? Well, apparently Jake Kamara is seeking a rework contract, and this is not hard to understand. He's due $11.8 million this year, but then he's due $25 million next year. Right. Obviously non-guaranteed, just some classic NFL BS where they want to juice up the number for the headlines early on, and so they tack on a big year that might as well be printed on rainbows and unicorn farts, and they're able to say, like, look at this. Look at this big deal that we just gave Kamara, right? Mm-hmm. So the 25-year, obviously Saints are not going to pay that. Kamara wants a rework deal. Now, interestingly, it doesn't seem like he's out here banging the drum for, like, I need a McCaffrey number, I need this or that. I think he's just looking for a bit more guarantees, a bit more solidity, more security over the next 2 years. And I got to say, I think that makes sense for both parties. I mean, he's carrying an $18.6 million cap hit this year. In classic Saints fashion, you could rework this deal, change some of the salary into a signing bonus that you prorate and spread out over a few years. You had the voidable years at the end, which will increase the dead money eventually, but you don't take the big cap hit. I guess the only difference is the Saints have had a few different actions this offseason that has led you to believe that maybe they're going to take some of these big cap hits so they can finally clear out some of the detritus and debris that has built up over the years from continuously pushing these contracts down the road.
For how many years have they done that? You know, just these
long time.
Yeah, these massive contracts, and they just push it down the road. But when it comes to Alvin Kamara, like, where do we think this is going to end? Because we think that there's a player in there that can be really explosive still, that can go out there and have a lot of success. Now, the running back position, it's a fickle one. Like, you hit the end sometimes, and there's no warning. It's just like you run straight into the dead end sign. And we've seen it from the best to ever do it. Like, you name a running back, and almost certainty they didn't retire before they hit that dead end sign. So if you're the New Orleans Saints, now you drafted a running back in the third round in Miller. You've got another veteran that you signed to a pretty decent deal. What are you willing to do in this situation? Because do you think there's still a really good player in there? It's going to be valuable to whatever deal you give him. Like, where do you think the Saints are going to land here? Because it's just with the position that he plays, the production that he hasn't had. Now we think it's because of an offensive line and an offensive philosophy more than the player. Yeah. But still, the Saints are going to negotiate with that, right there in front of him, saying, hey, look, here's production 3 years ago compared to where it's at now.
I mean, yes, the production has been in a steady decline. Now, he hasn't had the falling off the cliff moment yet. I mean, even last year still goes over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. Isn't that all 7 years of his career now, which is incredibly rare. Taylor, give me some perspective here. What's the number that CMC got in his new rework contract per year?
So it's close to 20. I mean, McCaffrey, but
he ran for 14.59 last year. Second in the NFL was 1,100.
I wonder
but he had 20 touchdowns?
Who, McCaffrey?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just trying to find what the actual salary number should be for AK. He's at 11.8 this year, but he's looking for more guarantees this season. Maybe some guarantees. I mean, do you think he would take like a 12 and 12? But you maybe guarantee most of it over the next 2 years. I guess what I would say is, how much do the Saints believe in Kubiak and this new offense, and whether or not it will lead to a Kamara resurgence? Because if he has a McCaffrey-like resurgence, which I think there's potential for that, I would never say that it's more likely than not, because I'm still blown away at how McCaffrey was kind of thought to be too injury prone and done for, and has now been, one of the best players in the NFL consistently ever since he made it in San Francisco. But you could potentially have a situation where you get him for cheaper than you would if he has a monster year, and then you got to rework next year's contract. What do you do? So there's a lot of variables and elements at play here. But again, I think there's potential for both sides to want to get a rework deal done. And what we'll see is, like, I guess where it should maybe matter to fans is what happens during training camp. If the deal isn't done, does he hold out? Will he be there? We'll see.
I would love to kind of know what Alvin Kamara and his camp, like what they're saying to the Saints, because I know what the Saints are saying. They're saying, hey, you were 33rd in the NFL in rushing last year, right? You averaged 3.9 yards per carry. Alexander Madison, who played for the Vikings, now with the Raiders, right? A lot of our listeners are probably saying who. He actually had the same amount of carries and had 6 more yards than you. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they're going to bring to the table. Now, Alvin Kamara had a lot of catches. He always has, and that's going to be a portion of it. But also his pass protection, he graded out as the worst starting running back in the NFL last year as a pass protector. All of those things are going to be what the New Orleans Saints are telling his agent right now. I would love to know what his agent and Alvin Kamara himself are saying back to the Saints. Again, because I truly do believe that he's been handcuffed a little bit and what he can do and what you've gone out there and given him. But how are you going to negotiate against that?
So McCaffrey, it's $19 million a year is what his average is for his new contract. The second highest paid average per year, it's Alvin Kamara. $15 a year.
Yeah.
So he's already second.
Yes. Now, again, that 15 a year a bit fake because of the giant last year in the
McCaffrey's
deal.
as well. His last year is like 19 and a half or something.
Yeah, because
like that,
because again, Kamara's going to make 11.8 this year, and then due to make 25 next year. That's not going to happen. A reworking will be done. I guess for the Saints' sake, it's interesting. So you're right. Kamara has no negotiating powers right now, right?
Yeah.
But for the Saints, it's like, okay, is it better for us to make a deal now when he has no negotiating power, but we can maybe kind of we can make him feel like, okay, but you know what? We'll give you something. We're going to throw you a bone, and we'll give you maybe more than what your numbers say. Or do you wait, and then he has some huge career resurgence, and then you got to rework the deal, and he's going to be demanding more of a McCaffrey number, which you're not going to want to give him because you're like, hey, this is still maybe like a 1 year deal, like 1 year resurgence. Like, is this going to stick around? So yeah, again, it's
soon to be 29 years old.
Yeah, and 29, which you never love.
The graveyard for running backs is typically 30. Unless you're Frank Gore.
And I want to make sure I'm not saying this just to call out Champ here in the chat, but I think some people probably feel this way as well, but I don't think it's accurate. He says McCaffrey's basically been the exact same in San Francisco as he was in Carolina, minus the 1 year that he was hurt. The problem is he had 3 years that he was hurt in Carolina. 3 years where he played, let's see here, 3 games, 7 games, 6 games. Had less than 100 attempts in all those years. So it was not a 1 year sample size in which McCaffrey started. Oh wait, no, excuse me, he had 2 years. 2 years in which he was hurt, and then he had the hybrid year in San Francisco and Carolina. So the point is, you can get to it's not like McCaffrey had 1 bad year and then came back and you say, oh, well, Kamara's been going downhill. Well, no, I think their careers actually trending pretty similar. But to Jake's point, the only deal is I think Kamara's just, got a year or 2 on him, maybe age-wise or in terms of when
McCaffrey's 28, Kamara's 29.
Well, Kamara's about to be 29 in July.
Yeah.
So before the season, he'll be 29.
I think Kamara will be one of the big beneficiaries of this offense. I don't expect him to reach the heights of CMC, but I think it probably behooves the Saints here to try to get a deal done at a more acceptable number. Again, you could even lower some of the cap hit this year and then keep him for another couple of years. And, okay, let's say you lock him up for 2 more years, but you don't see a long-term future, but he has a good year. Maybe there's some potential trade value there to another partner. So, I'll be interested to see how the Saints handle this over the next few weeks going into training camp.
I mean, I think Saints fans should prepare because it could actually get a little ugly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're probably right.
Because both feel like they have things that they can dig their heels in on.
Yep.
And with and have leverage.
I agree. It's complicated. And, well, we'll see what Mickey Loomis and company end up doing there. All right, when we get back here on, Jamie says I can't see paying AK $10 million. I mean, he's definitely getting $10 million. I mean, he deserves $10 million at least. I mean, he did go over 1,000 total yards again last season, and in a year in which he was not put in great positions to succeed. So,
I think there was 24 running backs that did that, went over 1,000 total yards.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
24 went over 1,000 total yards last year.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Maybe not then. Maybe I have to. Would you pay him $10 million a year?
Ooh, I don't think so.
Who else is making $10 million a year? That'd be a helpful
just because the running back
exercise in
market.
this. See kind of what names that would be comparable to. I mean, if you're not going to pay him $10 million a year, then I don't know. I mean, would he take less in the short term if you guarantee more of the 10.8? Because you're not going to excuse me, the 11.8? Because I mean, it's not like you're going to cut him no matter what happens this season. So I don't think if I'm him that I would take less, right? Because I feel like even if my 11.8 isn't fully guaranteed, it's basically fully guaranteed.
Right now, if you look at average per year, Josh Jacobs at 12, Jonathan Taylor at 14, Saquon at 12.5. That's about it for.
It feels like 12 is probably the number for AK, but maybe not
more per year.
That's it.
And then you throw out his 75 catches, and I was like, okay, that's really impressive for 466 yards. But then you look, and Bijan Robinson, who we always talk about, hey, get him the ball more. He had 487 yards, so about 20 more yards on about 20 less catches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, again
all those things are going to be used against him.
Yeah, and it sucks for him because, again, I think so much of that is schematics and philosophy in the positions that he's been put in. So I would pay AK $10 million a year for whatever it's worth. Probably feels like if you could get 12 a year for the 2 years, then maybe that's the play there. Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.